Hi guys, welcome back to Tez Talks Q&A. This is episode 16 and this is our second series. What do we call it? Second series. There we go. I grew up in three households growing up. I lived in three households with my mum. And with my mum, it was a really different kind of experience. It was just her and I. And my mum has schizoaffective disorder, so it's bipolar with some psychoses sometimes. And so that was a really interesting kind of experience in that household. I had a lot of freedom. I could do essentially what I wanted, but I was incredibly enmeshed with my mum. I was so close with her, and she was like, a lot of the times it was a role reversal. I was very much the mother. But we were friends too. We really were friends. And so then I would go to my dad's house. And at my dad's house up in the hills, it would just be my dad, my stepmom, and me. And that was pretty good. I had more discipline there. I had to eat my vegetables. We weren't allowed to watch TV. I spent a lot of time with my stepbrother who was there, and it was, I felt quite lonely up there a lot of the time, and so then that was just a whole other experience. And I remember I would always want to go back to my mum's house, even though I loved my dad so much. The home and the comfort feeling that I got at my mum's house, I wasn't getting as much there. Even though I loved being there and adventuring and having the space, and I really loved hanging out with my stepbrother, I felt most comfortable at my mum's house. And then I also lived in another house, alternate weeks, which was my stepmother's old house, because her sons stayed in one house. And so we would bounce, 1 week would be up at the farm, and the next week would be in this suburban house where her boys were. And that one was a lot of fun. That one there was a lot of warmth in that house. There was a swimming pool and tennis courts, and I was very integrated with my stepbrothers and really enjoyed, pretending to be as cool as them and playing video games. And it was a good experience, but they were all radically different. My mum's house was a house that was very religious, and then my dad's house, they're all atheists. So I had such polar experiences. But I have to say, I think that it really set me up in life in a beautiful way, because I got to experience complete black and white experiences. So my dad's house was, my father's a very intellectual man, and he reads a lot of books, and he's such a realist, and he absolutely does not believe in any kind of religious things. And my mom is very dreamy, and she is very religious, and it was just fun, and I could get away with murder over there. So I had both experiences, and I think I kind of landed somewhere in the middle in terms of my own spiritual beliefs and the way I was disciplined, and I think it served me really well, and it felt well-rounded, even though it was very left of center, my upbringing. I think I got all the right elements from the key people in my life to kind of lead me to be very independent, capable of doing things on my own. Even though I had so much freedom, I think I went really far with the freedom when I was a teenager, but then I kind of just reined myself back in around age 18, 19, and I just really got to know myself through that period. And I was alone a lot of the time. I was an only child with stepbrothers and half-sisters, but for the most part, it was just me. And so I had a lot of reflective time and became my own best friend. And it was really beneficial for me. I wouldn't change any of it, even though some of it was challenging or hard and like very emotional at times. It completely paved the way for me to be where I am and to come to Los Angeles on my own and be okay to give it a go and jump in the deep end, because I feel like I've been doing that my whole life, and so it really served me in that way. That was really cool thinking about all that sort of stuff. So thank you for the question. Yeah, this has happened to me before at work. Um, and sometimes you just don't have a choice who you have to hang around with and spend time with, because they're just kind of in your orbit, especially if you're at work, or if you're at school. I think it's about putting this like invisible barrier around you, like an energetic barrier around you. And the first step always is just the acknowledgement of, oh, this energy doesn't feel good around me, so this isn't something I gravitate towards. How can I use the tools that I know to deal with having to be in a situation where I'm faced with this energy? And so for me, when someone is in a negative headspace, the way I typically deal with it is I meet them at a place of love and compassion, first and foremost. So someone who's in a negative, low vibrational space is typically dealing with some kind of suffering. So the way that I can approach that situation is by feeling empathy within me, and by understanding that there's been some sort of trauma in this person's life to lead them to act in this way. And you can have that empathy and feel those feelings and that compassion for them. But also you can do it in a way that's healthy and where you put up boundaries. And so that means do whatever you have to do while you're there at work with them, interacting and engaging. And don't be afraid to be vocal about your feelings and your needs. I think it's really important to know that you have a voice, and even if this person is suffering with some trauma, it's not on you to fix it. It's not on you to have to deal with it. You can really put up some boundaries, and I think if it gets really bad and you start to realize that you're taking on some of this energy yourself, I think that's when you can go to someone either in your workplace or perhaps someone at your school, your university, and ask for to be changed out of that situation. So, for me, I've had that before, and I couldn't be changed out of the situation because I was like in a film with the person. But I just made it very aware to people around that the dynamic felt completely off, and it was feeling really negative, and there were people who were helpful to me in putting boundaries in place. And then I remember I'd just do my work with that person, I'd show up and really focus on what I was doing, and then I would remove myself and go to my trailer or hang out, and and then like continue to meet my own needs. So I think that's really important. How do you meet your own needs? Understand that they're navigating through some sort of trauma or some sort of pain and suffering in their life. Send empathy, but then make sure your boundaries are firmly in place, because it's very easy for people's energy to rub off on you. And you could also do something quite symbolic at the end of the day too, if you wanted. Take a bath, cleanse. Sometimes I can even just dry brushing your skin. I speak to myself sometimes. I would just tell myself you're safe, you're loved, you're okay. Affirmations really help, and just imagine a little cocoon around you, an invisible cocoon that keeps you safe, and make sure that all that negative energy just ricochets off of your cocoon, and so that you stay intact and healthy and whole. Okay, so we're already out of time. So thank you very much for your questions, and I will see you again next week. Okay, bye.